When removing the background from an object, depending on the differences in color and tone between the object and the new background, a small halo might appear along the edge of the object. This document has two layers, the tools layer as well as a paper layer. So with the tools layer selected, I'll choose select and then select subject. Photoshop does a great job starting the selection, but I do want to zoom in using Command 1. Then I'll hold down the space bar in order to reposition the image here. And I'll tap the L key to switch to the lasso tool because I want to remove this little area here from the selection. So I'll hold down the Option key in order to remove that area and just drag my cursor to remove it. Excellent. Let's zoom back out using Command 0. And while I could just add a layer mask using the mask icon at the bottom of the layers panel, if I do that, you can see on the right side, we've just got this halo all the way around these tools. So I'll undo that using Command Z on Mac or Control Z on Windows. And instead of just adding the layer mask, I want to enter the Select and Mask workspace. I can do that by either clicking on Select and Mask, or if I had a different tool selected, like the Move tool, you can use the Select menu and then choose Select and Mask. That's going to take us into the Select and Mask workspace. I have a number of different tools here that I can use to refine the mask, and on the right-hand side are a number of different options. So yours might look different depending on the view that you're in. For example, you might see this in onion skin, but I wanted to see it on layers, so I selected that. Again, we can see that halo. So for now, I'm going to temporarily change the view to black and white just to show you how we're going to use the global refinements to remove that halo. I'll use Command 1 in order to zoom in, and again use the space bar in order to reposition this. When we look at the smooth slider, as I move that to the right, it will smooth the edges of the selection. The feather is going to add a softening to the edges, and we can benefit from this because when we use the feather in combination with a shift edge, we can either choke or spread the mask, bringing it either in or out. If I move the shift edge to the left, we can see that it chokes the mask, and if I move it to the right, it's going to spread the mask. But for now, I'll leave that set to 0. And we can also use the contrast slider if we need to add a little bit more definition to the edge of the mask after we've got it repositioned in the correct area. All right, so let's set those back to 0. And I'm going to change the view back to on layers so we can see how this is blending with the layer below. And it's this halo here that I want to remove. So I'll start with the smooth slider. I might just increase that maybe to 4 to just smooth out some of those jagged edges there. And then I'm going to increase the feather slider, probably to about 5. You can see it adds the feather to both sides, so we're actually seeing more of the halo right now, but that's going to enable me to start shifting the edge in to choke the mask to remove that halo. Once I've got the shift edge positioned where I want it, if the edge is too soft, I can either decrease the feather amount or I can start increasing the contrast amount. So now I get that nice sharp edge again. All right, there are plenty of different options here for outputting this. I can always output it to a selection, but in this case, I'm going to go directly to a layer mask. I'll click OK, and then we can see the results. But when I zoom out using Command 0, it looks like the tools are just floating on top of the paper. So in order to anchor them down, I'm going to add a drop shadow. And I'll do that by clicking on the FX icon at the bottom of the Layers panel and choosing Drop Shadow. There are a lot of different options that we can change, including the opacity to make it a little bit stronger, as well as the distance and the angle and the size. So if I want to change the distance and the angle, but I want to do it in an easier way, I can just click in the image area and just drag in order to drag the drop shadow where I want it. So I'm going to set it right about there. I think it's a little bit too opaque, so I might take that down somewhere near 50%. And I'm also just going to decrease the size, making it a little bit sharper. All right, now I'll just tuck that under just a little bit more. And when I like the effect, I'll click OK. Of course, that's a non-destructive effect. We can see it in a layers panel. If I ever want to toggle it off, I can just hide the effect. For now, I'll make it visible. And the last thing that I might want to do, now that I've adhered the tools to the paper, if I want to make them pop, right now the color of the tools and the color of the paper are very similar. So I'll target the paper layer, and then from the bottom of the layers panel, I'll add a hue and saturation adjustment layer and just move the hue to the left until it turns blue. So now I have nice complementary colors. So, when you need to refine the edges of a mask, you can see that Photoshop's Select and Mask feature offers a number of different ways to smooth and sharpen and choke and spread the edges of a mask.